Somewhere in London, a bank just created millions of US dollars. No printing press, no permission from Washington, and the United States government wasn't involved at all. That sounds illegal. It isn't, because most US dollars don't actually live in the United States, and that fact quietly runs the global economy. Right now, this matters more than it has in decades. Interest rates are high, trade is tense, geopolitics are messy, and the world is discovering how dependent it is on a money system America doesn't fully control. This is the global dollar system that exists outside the United States, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start simple. When most people hear US dollar, they imagine cash or maybe a bank account in New York, but physical dollars are a tiny fraction of the system. What actually matters are dollar balances on bank computers. Now here's the twist. A bank does not need to be American to create a dollar balance. If a bank in London, Singapore, or Dubai makes a loan denominated in dollars, it has just created dollars. They're real. They can be transferred. They can settle trades. They can pay debts. These are called offshore dollars, often referred to as eurodollars, even though they have nothing to do with Europe or the euro. And this market is enormous. At its peak, the offshore dollar system was larger than the entire US banking system. Trillions upon trillions of dollars floating globally, largely invisible to the public. This didn't happen by accident. After World War II, the dollar became the center of global trade. Oil was priced in dollars. Shipping contracts were priced in dollars. International loans were priced in dollars. But foreign banks didn't want to rely on US banks for everything, so they started doing dollar business themselves. $1 deposit in New York could support multiple dollar loans abroad, not through fraud, through normal banking. Over time, the system fed on itself. More trade created more dollar demand. More dollar demand created even more offshore lending. More offshore lending created even more dollar usage. And here's the uncomfortable part. The Federal Reserve does not control this system the way people think. The Fed sets interest rates in the United States, but offshore dollars are created based on global demand, global risk, and global trust. When times are good, dollars are everywhere, cheap, plentiful, almost boring. When stress hits, the system snaps, banks stop lending, dollar funding dries up, and suddenly everyone wants dollars at the same time. This is where things get strange. In a crisis, the world doesn't run away from the dollar, it runs toward it. Companies in Asia, banks in Europe, governments in emerging markets, all scrambling for the same thing: dollar liquidity. But offshore dollars aren't backed by the US government in the same way domestic dollars are. There's no global lender of last resort by default. So the Federal Reserve ends up doing something bizarre. It lends dollars to foreign central banks through swap lines, quietly, behind the scenes. During the 2008 crisis, the Fed sent hundreds of billions of dollars overseas, not as aid, but to prevent the dollar system from collapsing. During COVID, it did it again, even faster, even bigger. This is the irony. The US dollar is a national currency, but the system that depends on it is global and fragile. People talk about de-dollarization, about countries abandoning the dollar, about a new global currency replacing it. Here's the reality. You don't just replace the dollar by choosing something else. You have to replace decades of contracts, collateral systems, funding markets, payment plumbing. The dollar isn't dominant because it's loved. It's dominant because it's embedded, and that creates risk. If US financial conditions tighten too much, the pain spreads globally. If trust in dollar funding breaks, trade slows. If geopolitics interfere, markets freeze. The world has built its house on a currency it does not control. And the country that issues that currency doesn't fully control how it's used. That tension is growing. So here's the uncomfortable question. What happens the next time the world needs dollars and politics, inflation, or credibility get in the way? Because when a global system runs on borrowed trust, the real crisis isn't when dollars disappear. It's when everyone realizes who was never really in charge.